being a manager is probably the toughest role in the entire organization. You're dealing with your own internal, evolution of how you should feel and work with AI, but then you have all of the people on your team that you have to also, help manage their concerns and manage their excitement and the different levels of emotion.
This is Leading at the Frontier, a series of discussions around how AI is changing the nature of work and how you can lead your organization with confidence. I'm Katy George, Corporate Vice President of Workforce Transformation.
And I'm Jeana Jorgensen, Corporate Vice President of Global Skilling. Excellent. Welcome to episode 4, one of my favorite topics, navigating resistance. Are you ready for it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why doesn't access to AI automatically lead to adoption?
Well, you would think that everybody getting access to wonderful tools like Copilot would just change everything overnight, but it doesn't. There are really two things that get in the way. First, mindset. A lot of people are really anxious about AI. Will I be successful in this AI world? Will my job be eliminated? Will I know what to do, or could I make a mistake that would somehow create some big problem? Do I really believe that AI is going to make my life better? So a lot of things that have to be overcome in terms of the mindset. Mm-hmm. And then there really is a skill set issue also. Some people are really good at figuring out how to use Copilot and create great prompts, and they get 300% more productive. Mm-hmm. But other people need more help in order to really use it effectively.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And fear is a real issue. And oftentimes organizations overlook that. Mm-hmm. Or they think, only 10% of our people are telling us that. And what we have found is people don't necessarily tell you they're afraid. They just are.
That's right.
And that's one of the biggest issues is communication and understanding how your people really feel. And I think it's so critical to realizing that your employees may not tell you, and they may have a lot more fear than you realize. And it can feel very daunting and overwhelming, especially if they feel like it's taking their job or it's going to replace them in some kind of a way. And so it's really almost tone deaf of us to say, hey, learn this tool and technology, if in their head they're saying, why would I learn something that's going to take my job away from me?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you're really getting at this notion of the iceberg, right? What's underneath the surface. And for each person, it might be somewhat different. So you can't assume you understand why there's fear and resistance, that it's somehow the same issue for everybody. It really can be quite individual. Great. So what are the different levels of resistance that we're seeing?
I think we're seeing 3 major ones, right? Mm-hmm. At the individual level, at the manager level, and then of course at the leader level of an organization. And the thing that's really important for us to understand is every single person, just as you mentioned, every single person may have a different reason for why they're resistant. Mm-hmm. And it's really getting down to what that resistance and where it's stemming from. Where is it coming from? The resistance comes from people not having enough context, not feeling like they're capable of learning the new skill yet. Mm-hmm. And I would say also a really big piece that we're seeing is we're seeing imposter level across imposter syndrome across almost every level of the organization. People feel like they should know more. They feel like they're behind. The number one question I get is, am I behind? Mm-hmm. Right? And I always say, you're not behind, you just got to get started. That is it. But each one of those levels, whether you're an individual, a manager, or a leader, you have an exorbitant amount of pressure on you right now to demonstrate ROI with the tools. And just like I said, just learn one skill at a time and start to learn and try to alleviate that pressure that you feel, because sometimes it's self-imposed.
Yeah, great point.
On the topic of managers, how do managers specifically influence adoption?
I think the role of the manager is huge. As you know, at Microsoft, we have in our cultural framework, we have 3 roles that managers play: model, coach, and care. Yes. And actually, those 3 words couldn't be more prescient for what is required today from managers to really help drive adoption and effectiveness with AI. So we talked about care, really understanding what's underneath the iceberg for each of the members of your team. That can't be done by some senior leader who's, or our HR leadership. This really is a role that the frontline manager plays to really understand and how to motivate each member of their team, and by demonstrating the empathy and the understanding. But modeling is also really important, more than ever. What we're finding is that the teams that have managers who are power users themselves are much more likely to adopt and be successful and have a very positive, excited attitude about the way work is changing with AI. So there's just no substituting for role modeling the use of technology yourself as a manager. And that's a critical responsibility for a manager.
Yeah.
And then finally, coaching. Really getting the whole team humming, not so that AI is about individuals having, changed their own way of working, but how is the whole team gelling and the whole team delivering something new because of the way that they're morphing their own roles and using technology in a really exciting way. That's really the role of the manager, to capture the great ideas from everybody on the team and help orchestrate something. And that's a new role, right, for that managers are going to be playing forever, which is really coaching the team to continually adapt new technology to change and improve the way the team performs.
Yes.
So model, coach, and care.
Yeah, I love that framework so much. I think it's really important to remember everybody in that manager's organization has a different feeling towards AI. You're going to have, like in any technology adoption, you're going to have people who are skeptics and laggards, and you're going to have early adopters and people who are sort of in that sort of middle of the trough there, where they're just trying to figure out, is this a good thing? Is this not a good thing?
Yeah.
And so being able to model your use, excitement, your curiosity toward it, and then bring those along that may be a little bit more skeptical, and then while encouraging those people who are out testing and trying new things to keep doing that.
Exactly.
Right? It's so important.
One of the things, kind of as an aside, there's a lot of conversation about whether AI will flatten organizational hierarchies, and there's certainly a lot of reasons why that may happen for some parts of organizations, but let's not overlook the importance of the frontline manager in actually driving the kind of change in performance and effectiveness of AI.
Yeah, and I also think that organizations need to recognize that being a manager is probably the toughest role in the entire organization. You're dealing with your own internal, evolution of how you should feel and work with AI, but then you have all of the people on your team that you have to also, help manage their concerns and manage their excitement and the different levels of emotion. And so I never want to underscore the importance of that role, and also the empathy that the rest of the organization needs to have for somebody in that position.
Particularly given the pace of change.
Yes.
And actually, that's my next question. When you think about the pace of change today, that will continue probably forever, what type of change management is going to be most effective?
So this is probably a controversial response, and I know people don't necessarily love this, but I don't like to use the word change or change management ever. To many people, change signifies death. It's grief. You go through the stages of grief when we talk about change. And again, everybody has their own association with change. When you change the words, or when you evolve your words to that word called evolution, or how we're evolving as an organization, it's just continued growth. Evolution to me never scares me. It's like, oh, I'm continually growing and I'm continually learning, which I want for myself. But if you tell me I'm going through change, or there's going to be a change, I immediately go to, I'm really comfortable doing the thing I'm doing now, and I don't like change. Most people are resistant to change, but I've found that most people are pretty excited about evolution, and they expect that. And so I think that's more of a language issue than it is, you got to think about how you put that into practice. And the words we use are so important with getting people excited about a technology that can really help them, even when they're skeptics.
Oh, I just absolutely love this. The other thing I've never liked about the term change management, especially in today's context, is that it feels like it's kind of we're going to manage you through a change and then you're done.
Right.
Whereas actually we're going to be about creating a culture that's really not only comfortable with continual evolution, but is energized by it. And one of my mentors once talked about how it only is transformation if it unleashes positive energy into the organization, and I think that's what we're trying to do with AI.
Yeah, I remember when Satya, really surfaced the term, growth mindset to the organization, and that was one of the biggest cultural revolutions in a company that the industry has seen in a very long time. And I love this notion that it starts with yourself, and you think about this term evolution and how we evolve, and we're just continuing to learn and grow as people through our entire life. And that is so much for me about what AI is today, the importance of having that kind of a mindset that says, okay, I'm curious about this thing. I'm going to go learn more about this thing, and not being stifled in fear or not knowing what's going to happen, or dwelling about the past. You're thinking in the moment, in the present time, how do I continue to learn?
I love that. And you talked about our growth mindset culture at Microsoft, which is one of the reasons I joined the company. It's just a wonderful culture. And, it was about moving from being know-it-alls to learn-it-alls. And being learn-it-alls is exactly what we're talking about in the concept of AI.
Yeah.
So this is the end of our episode 4, Navigating Resistance. What would you say are the main takeaways?
I think there are 3 main takeaways. 1, identifying human resistance early and often. It's so important that you look in your organization and you find out from your people where they're nervous, whether they're scared, where they're excited, but you really have a good understanding, not just through surveys, but from talking to people, recognizing their actions and finding out where there's resistance and getting in there early and addressing it. Second, I would say it's so important to involve your employees in identifying the right use cases and bringing them in early. Not only bringing in your early adopters, but bring in your resistors and help them figure out, again, I always say, start with the task you like the least and focus on that thing and teach people how to do that task using AI, and you will all of a sudden have a lot more people adopting and excited about the potential of AI in your organization. And I'd say last, so important, build a system for continuous evolution. It is so important that you don't put people in this notion of constant change management. You'll never get out of that cycle for people, and they'll never get to a point of being excited about AI because they will feel like they're on this rapidly moving pendulum. Talk about evolution and think about building a system around that where people are getting new capabilities and just using them in the flow of work, taking a new task and using AI to make it better. Making sure that's a continuous flow will be really, really key.
I love that.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.